Welcome to Surviving Stalking with your hosts Karen and Shelcy. This podcast is brought to you by Action Against Stalking, the only anti-stalking specific support charity in Scotland. The charity was created by a stalking survivor to encourage and empower others to speak out against stalking, seek support and change the narrative. Caution is advised as some themes may be sensitive to listeners. Welcome to a very special episode as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of Action Against Stalking. It's also the 10th episode of this podcast. So again, that was just a coincidence, but it worked out pretty well. So today's episode will be a little different. As you can see, I am flying solo because my co-host Shelcy is away enjoying a sunny beach somewhere on a well-deserved rest. And secondly, the episode is also recorded, so you can head over to our YouTube channel to watch us. Wave to the camera, people. So without further ado, I'm joined today by two inspirational ladies, I have to say. The first is Anne Moulds, who is the founder of Action Against Stalking. Anne has previously been on the podcast, so if you want to go and give her story a listen, just go to episode 2. We're also joined by the newly appointed Chief Executive of Action Against Stalking, the wonderful Hayley Tennant. Hayley's done so much in her professional life, too much to name here. So if you want to hear a bit more about Hayley's story, please go onto our website and I'll link the YouTube channel and the website in our show notes. So thank you both for joining me today.
You're welcome, thank you.
So Anne, you started this charity as one woman with a purpose, and 10 years later, AAS is still thriving. So could you have imagined this success when you set out with this mission 10 years ago?
Yes, I could. When I set out with the mission 10 years ago, I knew where this charity was going. I knew what the purpose behind the charity was, but it was the importance behind the charity. And there's something about to put myself out there so much in the way that I did, then there was no such thing in my lexicon as this not working. And this charity not being a success, it had to be a success. And that sheer determination fueled by passion, hard work, dedication, and the dedication of so many other people that have come behind me, that my trustees, my staff, everyone that has been on board has helped make this a success. But that was the vision. We've not realised our full vision, but our vision will be realised, whatever that vision is, because it's like everything, it changes that little bit as we go along. But I do still have a vision of a world where all stalking victims feel safe and free from threat and harassment. But it's not just about stalkers. It's not just about the victims of stalkers. It's about the systems, the criminal justice systems that serve victims of stalkers, that serve those stalkers, that hold them accountable, and where that victim sits within that system. And are their needs being served? Are their voices properly being heard? Are they properly being looked after? So we still have a lot to do in this work. So what started as a vision still remains a vision, but the work is still ongoing, and there is no such thing as not succeeding. We will continue. We are Action Against Stalking. We have never stopped once, and we're not going to stop now until that vision is realised.
Thank you, Anne. Again, every time you speak, it's something motivational. It's very captivating. And I think from being one of the first members of staff at Action Against Stalking 4 years ago, even just being part of that and seeing how much this charity has grown has been a huge honour, actually. So thank you for that. And you can really see the passion in the way you speak, and that really shines through in where this charity is today. So Hayley, bringing to you now. So you are the newly appointed Chief Executive. So what was it, 6 weeks you said you've been here. How have you found your new position working with the charity?
Well, I'm honoured to take on the role as CEO and to take the reins to lead the charity forward. How have I found it? specifically, we've got a fabulous group of people that are so passionate about making a difference with Action Against Stalking and understanding the prevalence of stalking in our society. You know, I don't come specifically from a stalking background, but really have had to educate and immerse myself with the knowledge of the criminal justice system and the rights of victims, and what does that look like, and what does stalking look like in context, and how that impacts on individuals and families. As Anne says, you know, we've got a lot of work to do in terms of the vision. So I found it really quite incredible, is to answer your question directly. And I've learned so much in such a short space of time. But now it's time to look upwards and out in terms of the vision for the charity, and be the leader in Scotland and nationally. That's the plan. You know, that's the vision, to really raise the bar on the prevalence of stalking and the impact that has on our society, to raise awareness, to educate, and to share knowledge. And that's the most important thing, isn't it? So people become so much more savvy in understanding, because I don't think we quite do as a society. So 6 weeks, I feel like I've been here for much longer. I was speaking to Anne about this morning. I'm on 6 weeks, day 4. And I really do feel like I've been here for ages and ages. But that's all testament to the people, the team that we have. You know, both the chair and the trustees and the members of staff are so inclusive, and an environment that's so supportive. And I think that's true to say of the way we work with victims that come through the service too. So yes, I found it an honour, and I feel very humbled and privileged to be able to take the charity forward. So yeah, thank you.
And we're delighted to have you, Hayley.
Thank you.
To take forward the mission, to take forward the purpose, to pick up that gauntlet and lead this charity into its next stage of its evolutionary life.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, that's what I was going to say as well. As one member of staff, it's been really great to work with you, and to hear and start working on the things that we're hoping to start doing in the future has been a real honour as well for us. So thank you, Hayley.
I think what's important is that we represent the victim's voice.
Yes.
Anyone can fall victim to a stalker. Anyone, regardless of who that person is. And it's not just about the word stalking, it's about harmful and abusive behaviour. Lives are being destroyed. And for such a long time, the focus has always been on the materialistic or physical nature of crime, and overlooking the fact that stalking is not a physical crime per se. It's a psychological crime,
Yes.
one denoted by, you know, that the chronicity of each behaviour that can last for months on end, dripping, and slowly destroying that victim's world financially, socially, their safety, their sense of being, their sense of everything. It's one of the most devastating crimes that a person could ever experience. And that's what we've got to get that message out. This is not just about crimes of a physical nature. It's harmful and abusive, it's psychological, and it's the slow and systematic brutalisation of a person's world, and the victim sits at the centre of that. And that's who we are advocating for. That's who we are standing up for. We will be that victim's voice. We'll be the person that speaks out for those that are too scared or unable to speak for themselves. And we will empower other victims to come forward and help them build the courage and strength where they can speak out for themselves eventually.
Yes, absolutely. And I think there's an extension to that as well, isn't there, in terms of family intervention? We were talking about that earlier, the impact on the individual, but also how is that extended to, you know, future partners or people that are closest to them, because the impact is immense. especially when we're talking about trauma.
Absolutely.
Psychological trauma. So for us to be trauma informed and extend what we're doing with individuals in the vision going forward. So absolutely, the victim being the centre of what we do. So
yeah, and I think that's a very powerful message that
yes,
victims are at the centre of what we try and do here at Action Against Stalking.
Yeah.
So we touched on briefly there about your sort of visions going forward. I suppose this is a question for both of you. What do you hope to see in the next 10 years?
how long have we got?
David, how long?
How long have we got to answer that question?
Your top highlights, your top ones.
I'm going to give that to Hayley at this present moment.
Okay.
On
So-
you go, Hayley.
Thank you. So in terms of vision, there's lots to do. So for me, coming into the charity with a fresh pair of eyes and really picking up the ball and run with the foundations that Anne has put into place with the existing team, I think that's really important to stay true to those objectives and those deliverables. And what we see going forward is very much education, not just from an academic point of view and being the leaders in that, but also education in society, education within communities, within schools and colleges, and really to get the message out there about what is stalking. So there's no confusion on what is stalking and the impact that has. We touched on the psychological impact of that. Education is very, very important. I think also for us as a charity to grow, it's getting funders and supported funders, corporate funding, and also with the link to that education is offering the consultancy to the corporate environment, HR policies. I really see a need for policy to be changed. And campaigning within that context around protecting people and preventative measures, because a big part of what we do is that prevention through understanding and through that knowledge. I also see in terms of fundraising, I think that's another key stream for us as well, and also collaborating in more depth with our partners that links to Rape Crisis Scotland, Police Scotland, violence against women and girls. You know, stalking then grows arms and legs, doesn't it, in terms of the perpetrator and violence and harmful behaviours. We know that from what's happened already. And really understanding how we can make a difference with knowledge, information and impact, because that's what we're all about, is making an impact, isn't it? So in order for us to grow, and obviously let's not forget, in the centre of that, in the epicenter of Action Against Stalking, is the victim's voice, as Anne said, and our through care service. So part of the education and the funding and the training, going out into the marketplace and delivering consultancy and training, will enable us, because that's the enable us to extend the service, the through care service. So currently we have practitioners. We want more practitioners on a full-time basis, and we want to be able to really grow that team that enables us to capture all the inquiries. We're doing well currently, but we want to do better. As we raise awareness and we raise the bar with education, we know we're going to get more inquiries in. So we need to be able to substantiate that and support it. So at the centre of what we do is the victim and the support of the victim end-to-end process. So we want more cognitive behavioural therapists, we want more specialised practitioners, we want to be able to go out into the marketplace from our vision, to have independent stalking advocates, for us to be the experts in that sphere. We've got a lot to do. That was 6 key strands that I talked about, but we could talk about it for all week, couldn't we, in terms of how do we develop the strategy. But that's it in a nutshell, I think, anyway. And the victim is at the centre of all of that in terms of advocacy and obviously the family intervention.
And
Is there anything else I've missed, Anne?
Absolutely, Hayley. And it's about when we talk about a vision, we didn't put a timeline on the vision. It's about growing slowly and steadily, sometimes consolidating, stepping back a bit,
Yes.
consolidate, and then move on to the next evolutionary step. But behind that and the overarching vision, you know, Action Against Stalking already has national and international recognition. We have been up there as the trailblazers, the leaders in this field, and we must hold that.
Yes.
We must hold our position in the media, get out into that media. And we've already had inquiries from other countries abroad about can we have an Action Against Stalking in our country? What is your model of working? Now, that's a massive vision, but it doesn't mean it can't happen. That we hold that international outreach, we work with other countries, we collaborate at that, not just a local level or a national level, but at that global level, where Action Against Stalking continues to be on that world stage and be the voice, the expert, along with other experts in this field of stalking, victim safety, victims' rights, harmful and abusive behaviour.
Yes.
We cover a wide agenda, but we have the knowledge. We have the knowledge to actually talk on that wide agenda. It's not just so narrowly focused that it's purely just stalking. We have a wide body of knowledge in this organisation, and we can talk in that global platform.
Absolutely.
And that's where we're going to hold our presence.
Yes.
Meanwhile, underneath, the work is being done.
Yes. A good example of that is, I mean, we have an inquiry from Canada, as you know, and that's developing in terms of the relationship moving forward. When you talk about, you know, the global platform, and we've been approached by two very savvy documentary makers that are currently want to produce for the BBC nationally, and will go globally on the iPlayer, and we're already being engaged with those two documentary companies. That's the word I was looking for. Companies. And that's in 12 months' time. So we're starting those conversations already.
Back on.
And for 12 months. And in fact, one of those individuals has a massive multi-million global following. So we're leading. And it's about picking up that ball and your vision and all the hard work that you've done already, and extending that in terms of the foundations, building on the foundations and keeping it there, as you say, because that's so very important.
It's also quite
lot of hard work.
Of hard work.
Yeah, hard work.
You know, and I think it's to remember for everyone that's on board with Action Against Stalking, all the staff, all the team, all the trustees, what an amazing job they have done.
Yes.
Because what started off with a campaign at high top international level,
Yes.
to build a charity under that is not an easy feat.
Yes.
When that work still had to hold there. So it's really, this is a great opportunity to say and extend a huge sincere thank you to everyone who works for Action Against Stalking, all the staff,
Yes.
members of the trustee, past chief executives, for yourself, Hayley, to say thank you for coming on board and sharing in that vision. And let's keep being that market leader, that trailblazer that we have earned our reputation to be. And it's about being creative, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
being able to think outside the box. You know, when you look at the criminal justice system, it's such a narrow system, very tunnel vision that this is the way it's been and this is the way it must be and always will be, you know. But there's something about thinking outside the box, and that's the one strength that we have. We are creators. We can see a different way of being. We can see a different world. We can see how to change attitudes and create a new norm, a better norm. And in doing that, we can create a safer world for us all to live in. And that is what we offer to our world, to our society, to our communities, and very much to the people that we represent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and those sound like big goals, but action against stalking can make it happen. Look what's happened so far. Legislation coming in, changing the face of not just stalking, as you say, Anne, but the whole emotional harm that crime can cause, and how in the past it's only physical, it's only what we can see was perceived as a crime, but now it's the whole idea of the psychological impact, and it branches off, doesn't it, into other types of crime, and just how from that one seed, so to speak, with a lot of hard work and drive and put into it, something like this has grown, and it can only grow. Do you know?
And what shifted is the social attitudes where, you know, and my hat's off to the police. I hold the police in very high esteem. I will always support the police. I always have supported the police because I think they do a wonderful job, and they work hard and a challenging job. But by goodness, over the past few years, the shifts in their attitude towards this victim-centred approach, towards a trauma-informed approach. And we're now looking at the courts adopting that same trauma-informed approach. And these are massive paradigm shifts. You know, we're not just talking of a piece of legislation, we're talking of a paradigm shift across the whole criminal justice spectrum. And that is huge to have, you know, to actually, for action against stalking to have achieved that, then we have achieved a lot. We set the bar high, we will always set our bar high, and we will work towards achieving even more for victims of stalking. And it's fun. It's fun, it's passion, it's excitement, it's progress, it's change, and change is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
We need change to happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything becomes stagnant and boring. So we never just work to our strengths, we work past our strengths. And that's where action against stalking punches.
Absolutely. Yeah, punches the power. And we're at that stretch point of taking it to its next level.
Which is why you're here,
This
Hayley.
is why I'm here, absolutely.
No pressure.
This is
Absolutely no pressure.
no pressure at all. And this is why I said, how was your fourth week? And I said, well, I'm in at the deep end and I can swim really well. So that's the metaphorical context I used. Absolutely. I'm in at the deep end and I'm swimming, fully immersed and enjoying the whole aspect of it. But yeah, we have got a lot to do, but I'm mindful, and that's again part of the vision, is that we take our time to get it right.
We do it right.
Absolutely. And there is progress, and you know, we can't go wrong when we've got such a group of passionate people that are all honed into the objectives around the centre of supporting victims and making a difference in society, around what we think, our perceptions, what's happening in the media currently, and how we lead the way. So yes, there's a lot of hard work to do, however, in the bag.
Yeah.
And it's not just about action against stalking as a brand. It's about, you know, who's in action against stalking. We've got a fantastic team. The staff working within the charity are amazing. We've got 2 members of our staff currently doing their PhD in stalking. That's amazing. We set up the Centre for Action Against Stalking with the University West of Scotland for applied research. So we have got a very good foundation. You know, that was part of that evolutionary stage.
Yes.
And, you know, and sometimes it's time to just stand, slow down, consolidate, and then go on to the next building block.
Yes.
And that's what you're talking about, Hayley. You know, we're not running a race here. There is no race. What we have to do is work smart, be clever, be creative, but be grounded and be solid.
Absolutely. Yes.
And one thing, Hayley, you mentioned when you're speaking about sort of the future fundraising was a big thing that you'd said. And this seems like a good opportunity to say that the staff team at Action Against Stalking are doing some fundraising. So through the month of June, we've called it Stomp Out Stalking. and we're going to try and climb as many Munros or hills as we
Oh,
can
fantastic.
in June on behalf of Action Against Stalking, and of course the great work of Anne Mould. So when you talk about dedicated staff, we're out there on the weekends stripping our hiking boots on, going for it in the
Well
rain
done.
in Scotland. And I'll list down in the show notes for anyone that wants to get involved. You can walk along with us, you can set up your own fundraising page, you can donate to us, and of course you can share it across your social media, get people involved, because it's so important that we stomp out stalking, and any funds will of course go into the amazing work that the Through Care Service currently do to support victims of stalking.
And
so
that is
that's our tribute to you,
amazing.
Anne.
Climbing all the Munros.
Maybe not them all.
No.
As many as we can is the caveat.
Yeah, I think hiking hills for hailing.
Haley's good with all these
Yeah, the
marketing
metaphorical
side of things.
absolutely. Yeah, if you want to march the Munros, that's great. You can still stomp out stalking, but I'm hiking the hills for hailing. That's hills for me, Munros for you. Let's be very clear, Karen.
And if anyone does come on board, please do. Please muster up your friends and
Yes.
let's get this project underway. Well done, Karen, and the rest of the team for taking it forward. But it's not just about stomping out stalking. Let's all stand up and represent victims of crime, because it could be any one of you, any one of your loved ones. So the more people that get involved, you are representing those people who are victims. You're protecting the future and safety of our society from now on. So let's get moving on this challenge. I think it's an amazing. I'm sorry I can't join you.
Good thing you've broke your foot. That's a
goodness
great excuse.
I cannot join you. I will be cheering you on.
We appreciate that.
We're going to take lots of pictures for you, Anne.
Yes, so please, of course, follow us across social media as well. And if you're out there doing it, then use the hashtag StompOutStalking and get involved with us.
Yes.
So we've mentioned there are tons of things looking forward in the future. We've mentioned successes in the past. So again, here's a big question for both of you. What's the biggest achievement, and I know there's tons, you've seen as founder of Action Against Stalking and as Chief Executive of Action Against Stalking?
I don't think there has been a massive big achievement. I think they've all been, big achievements in their own right. And, the sum of many parts is greater than the whole. But each milestone, each challenge that managed to overcome was an achievement. But here we are, 10 years on, sitting here. Is that the greatest achievement? It's maybe one of them. It's maybe just one of them, because there are too many wonderful achievements that even looking back over 10 years, I often wonder, how did that happen? How did I manage that? How did I manage to achieve that? How did we, as a charity, with all the hurdles that we face, because it's not been a straightforward, linear process to get to where we are. There has been a lot of massive challenges. A lot of times I'm sure I felt like giving up, and I'm sure many members of the staff have felt a bit despondent, thinking, where are we going? How are we going to get there? So I think one of the achievements is the sustainability, that regardless of what's been put in our way, we have overcome it and we are still here. And that's probably the biggest achievement that I can say. We're sitting here today with Hayley, our new appointed Chief Executive. Karen, you've been on board for a long, long time, been amazing. And we're sitting here today with our 10th podcast on our 10th anniversary. Is that a big achievement? I think it's a huge achievement.
Absolutely. Well, you asked me what the biggest achievement is. I think the fact that you talked about resilience and the fact that you made a decision through all your adversity, your personal experience, because that's how Action Against Stalking was created.
Yeah.
So I've got to bounce it right back in your court and say the biggest achievement for me as an outsider looking in, before I took the appointment, was, oh my goodness, who's this lady? What has she achieved? What has she been through? And I watched hours and hours and hours of your interviews and your training and the sharing that you put out into different sectors, and realising the impact and the punch and the power of your your mental toughness and your capacity and your resilience, because that's exactly what it is, to say, I'm going to make a difference. And you grabbed that bull by the horns and you gave it the biggest shake, and Action Against Stalking was born. You led the way as a trailblazer to change law. You said, I'm not accepting that. No chance. And you dared to challenge. And that took time to do that. That's, for me, that's the biggest achievement, because what you've done and what you continue to do is set an example. You talk about paradigm shifts in change. You've set a fine example, and you continue to set that fine example of, we don't need to accept the status quo.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. Absolutely. And we can dare to challenge, and we can push back, and we can evidence it, and we can inquire.
Absolutely.
And we want to make a difference. And for me, that's the single biggest achievement, outside looking in, saying, do you know what? This is amazing where we're at now. Now it's time to take it forward. So it's all thanks to you and your experience and how it came about. I'm sorry that happened to you, but it was based on your experience that you made a difference.
It was, Hayley, and I think that's
Let's
wonderful
not forget that.
of you to say that. And for everyone listening out there, listening to this podcast, I think to recognise that, yes, I stood out as one voice. I challenged the system. I challenged the criminal justice system on my own, with no one backing me at that time, but I was determined. And there's something about, and I can't remember who said it, but courage is more important than fear. It's that recognition. Yes, I was scared. Yes, I was vulnerable. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never stood up and launched a campaign before.
Yes.
I'd never challenged the system. I'd been a victim of the system, a victim of crime twice, and a victim of the system crime, or a victim of the system twice, might I add. And there was something about saying, do you know, this is not acceptable. I'm going to challenge that status quo. This is not happening to people any longer. I'm not tolerating this. This has to change. And there's something about, yes, I was scared, I was frightened, I was vulnerable, but courage is about recognising that something is even more important.
Yes.
So it's not about not being scared. It's being recognising that it's okay to be scared, but there's something more important than fear.
Yes.
So everyone out there, let's join in this challenge of the Mineral Challenge.
Yeah.
Let's get out there and represent the voices of victims. Let's all stand up and be that voice. Because I started off as one voice, one woman, on my own. Let's all be voices together. Let's everyone take this platform as a call to action and start speaking out. And let's call for change. Let's call for the correct type of change.
Yeah. And because of everything that both of you have just said there, and Anne is too humble to say it, maybe this episode should be called an Anne Moulds Love Fest, because we're just talking about how amazing you are, Anne. But Anne was recognised last year, I think it was. She got an honorary doctorate from the University of the West of Scotland. So I apologise, Anne, I should have introduced you as Dr. Anne Moulds. Sorry. You're still just Anne Moulds to me.
I'll always just be Anne Moulds, I think.
But even that alone showcases a personal achievement, even about how it's been recognised, about the amazing work that you've done for victims of stalking, and beyond that, victims of crime, as you've just said. So
absolutely. And I think it's about here, the support that we give to Hayley, our newly appointed Chief Executive, which we will all pull behind. Yeah. You will have that support, Hayley. And the wonderful work that you're going to achieve for this charity.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, do we have any final words, any key messages you want for listeners to know?
Happy 10-year anniversary to Action Against Stalking.
Sorry, David. He's like, that was too loud, Karen.
And a huge thank you to everyone who has supported this charity, who comes onto our website. a huge thank you to all you people out there, because without you, we would never have been able to make a difference. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hayley?
What Anne says.
Ditto.
Just that, and I look forward to just developing the charity over the next 3 to 5 years. That's the vision that we're developing, the 3 to 5 year plan, and continuing to make a difference. A team with a mission, and making the change. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, happy birthday, AAS.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you both so much for coming here, for being on camera as well,
Thanks, Carly.
and being
Welcome.
interviewed for this, because it's so
Thank you.
good to celebrate this milestone with you and of course with listeners as well. So I should note at the end of this, if you want to learn more about Action Against Stalking, about our work, or if you need support, it's very important that you know that we're here for you. So I'll list our website in the show notes for anyone. And again, I think the final thing to say is, well, are we doing this for the 20th year?
Oh, absolutely.
So I'll see you in 10 years, David. You available this day, 10 years' time?
With cakes. With cakes.
Yeah, and I should note at the end of this, massive thank you to David Allen for helping us set this up today, and making it a
thanks,
really
David.
special
Thank you,
episode. So
David.
thank you, David.
Thank you for joining us. If you want to get notified of new episodes, please click that follow button and leave a review. You can also follow Action Against Stalking on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. All links are below in the show notes. We want to thank our colleagues at the University of West of Scotland, who are co-creators of the Centre for Action Against Stalking. And special thanks to David Allen for producing this podcast. Catch you on the next one.